Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Dear Sports with me, Faith Lynch. I am so excited for our interview today. I have one of my good friends, Presleigh Pilon from Baylor softball. Presleigh is a redshirt junior infielder from Marietta, California. She has a batting average of .267 and only has 4 strikeouts in her last 86 at-bats. Presleigh, thanks for coming today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Of course. This is so fun. Okay, so you're a new face to Baylor. Tell us all about yourself. Give us the whole resume.
Yes, so I'm new here. I came on a visit and was absolutely sold on it when I came up here. Did not expect it to be just what it is. And honestly, it just it's my home away from home pretty much.
I love that. I always kind of forget, just because I come from a Baylor family, that I'm like, this is not everywhere. So people actually do choose to come to school here besides like family ties. So that's so awesome. Y'all have absolutely been killing it this season. Y'all had a really big preseason win, right? Talk about that a little bit.
Yes. We beat Oklahoma. I feel like for us in this sport of softball, it's not necessarily like, oh, that's the number one team, like you should be scared to play them. It's more of like you show up every day ready to play and you can beat anyone on any given day. So it was a fun competition, a really good win to kind of help us figure out where we were at with our team, and kind of what roles we each play was kind of a good start to figure out where we all sit. With the fall, some of us I wasn't able to play. I didn't have enough credits in time. So It was just nice to have everyone out there and to see what the year is kind of going to look like.
Right, because y'all had a lot of new people come into the program, right? So kind of like figuring that out in off season, right?
Yes, we had 4 transfers. We actually all lived together, so it worked out great.
That's so fun.
But it was nice, and I feel like this team here is very different in the sense of we all get along. Our chemistry is something that I will say I have not had on another team that is like this one.
Wow, that's so awesome. What was that training going into this preseason?
I feel like for me, I played in the summer league in Florida.
Okay.
So that was a very different experience.
Yeah.
Because normally it's travel ball, but this year it was something. I went out by myself. I lived with one of my good friends who also was transferring from LSU. And it was just nice to be able to find the love again for the sport. I kind of lost it at my old school. So just being able to have fun again and to meet new people was an awesome experience.
Yeah, I think like finding the love of sports it can be really hard in college athletics because it turns into a job so quickly. And so you kind of just get caught up in the okay, I have to go to practice and I have to go to class and I got to go to lift, and just kind of get in the mundane activities and forget that we actually one time loved to play our sports and it was fun.
Exactly.
And so I think that's really good of finding the love again. It's really hard. So how did you get into softball? Did you play anything else growing up? Kind of tell us your story.
Yeah, so softball has been my main sport. I have 3 sisters, but my oldest 2 had played softball, so I wanted to be just like them and follow in their footsteps. And so that is how I ended up doing it. I also did powerlifting and then cross country growing up and loved them, but I had to pick one, and softball has always been my first love. So
that's awesome. I had to kind of decide too. I did gymnastics and ballet for ever. My mom wanted me ballerina, and then my dad was like, yeah, absolutely not. We're going to try to get her into something with a ball. I need something like that. So that's awesome. Talk about your recruiting process a little bit. So going from California to Louisiana to Texas, I feel like that's 2 big culture shocks. So we'll talk about that a little bit.
Yes, it was very it was a interesting experience. For softball, when I was being recruited, I always played up, so my team was always old. They were a year older than me, so they were being recruited earlier, which in the softball world, they were being recruited in 7th, 8th grade.
Wow.
So it was very different and kind of hard because I was technically considered a late bloomer, and I still committed my freshman year.
Wow.
And it was I was a late bloomer, and I just felt so behind. And I remember I wasn't, but it was just that feeling because everyone else is committing, and you just feel rushed in the process, but also kind of took my time with it and made sure I fell in love with the school that I had chosen.
Yeah, that's really tough. For volleyball, it was like that, and it's changed in the past couple of years, so that's been nice. But yeah, committed the end of my freshman year. I'm okay, I'm going to the school, and then it's just this really weird feeling of just waiting. You're okay, you feel you're now rushing to get there, and kind of blowing through high school of okay, I'm committed. now I got to train, like now I got to be the best. Like that's a big jump.
Yes, agreed.
Did you go on different visits? Like, did you have more options? Like, what was kind of your process?
Yeah, so I had gone on a few different visits just to check out a couple other schools, and I liked a bunch of schools. They were all super awesome. I loved going on visits and just experiencing different cultures. And I think the biggest thing for me when I would go on visits was meeting the players and talking with the players, because then you get the full interaction, and like they'll be not necessarily honest because it's harder when you're there. They obviously want you to go there, but you get a better experience than just talking to the coaches. So it's more feeling it out of that sense, and if you kind of mesh with that team or not. And so that was a big thing for me that I made sure I really, looked into.
Yeah, no, that's a big deal. I feel like one of the reasons I committed to Baylor is because of like the girls that were on the team already. So I'm like, oh, like I want to be like her when I grow up. Like just kind of seeing like their character and like who they are, because that's a big deal. Because I think, like especially at like the D1 level, the top of the top, in a Power 5, like you have all the dining halls, you have all the weight rooms, like all the the facilities are all awesome and amazing, kind of everywhere you can go. So I think that's like another good thing of just find your people, because it gets tough.
Yes, exactly.
And then COVID happened your senior year of high school.
Yes.
Right? Ugh, okay. Talk about that. Like, how did that impact your personal and athletic life?
COVID was hard. A memory just popped up, and it was me like crying in the kitchen. And my mom had sent it to me, but I remember it was hard because I don't like to, I need to be doing something. Just sitting around is not for me. I need to be outdoors, like going and doing stuff and, playing my sport that I love. And being locked up was kind of hard because obviously we didn't have a choice, and it was more of the unknown of how long is this going to be, or like what is the next step. That was the hardest part for me, at least.
Did you have like a graduation and like all of, like, how did that all unfold?
Yes. So the grad night and all those nights got canceled, prom and all of that. Obviously, I really wasn't mad about that.
Yeah.
It was whatever to me. I never really went to dances anyways because of sports.
Yeah.
But yes, we had a graduation. It was a drive-through graduation.
No
so
way.
it was like we were in the car, and it was a while because there were so many cars. And then, you get to get out, and then you still get to go give them like a handshake and all that. And then it was awesome for what the circumstances were.
Yeah. Dang, I was thankful that was my junior year. And so I was like, okay, I can still kind of have like some of a normal end of high school, end of graduating early. So it kind of felt like COVID was still a thing. Like I didn't go to prom, didn't really go to graduation, that whole thing. But it like put a whole stop on training, and just like that's your whole life. And so it's like, okay, I don't want to sit still. Like, what do I do? Did you do things at home? What was your process?
Yes. So we have a batting cage at my house, and we also
nice.
have a weight room in the garage.
Oh,
so
perfect.
my dad is the best at all of that and has everything. So we for sure did family workouts. Those were a lot of fun, and hitting in the backyard still. We have our own machine too, so didn't skip a beat on that. But it was just different not being with your teammates or seeing the people that you love working out with and having them push you. And obviously family pushes me too, but it's just a different culture when you're with the girls and that competition type of training.
Yeah, that's so different. I remember my brother and I, we would play in the backyard, and I'm like, okay, I need a new pepper partner. This is not working. So yeah, training with family in that time was odd. But okay, so you did start out at LSU in 2020. What was kind of a big draw for you to go there? And then what was a big draw for you to come to Baylor?
So I feel like my big draw for me to go to LSU was when I went on a visit there. It was a different culture than California. Mm-hmm. Just being in the South is very different. Yeah. And I feel like I would fit in very well there. And the family environment was really nice there. And just how much they cared for the athletes was so awesome, just to see even just the community itself and how much they cared for the athletes. And it really did feel like a family when I was being recruited. And even when I was there, it was still a family and stuff. But that was probably what sold me the most. And I was just very excited to be able to go there and experience a new change, for me at least. And then the biggest thing was just to compete for a national championship. I was excited to get out there, get on the field, and get to work. And I feel like when I reopened my recruitment process up to come to Baylor, well, before that, when I opened it up just in general over the summer, Coach was very persistent. I knew for me when I had left LSU, there was 3 things that I wanted. The first thing was somewhere that values me. Like, I just wanted to feel valued at a school. The second was a school that has sign language.
Okay.
I'm very passionate about sign language.
Really? Okay.
And then the last thing was just like a family culture, just same thing I had. Just I love that family culture environment. And so when Coach was very persistent on getting me out here on a visit, and I was like, yes, I'd love to come out, check it out. And so I came out, and it was just all that I could have imagined, and fell in love with it, and ended up, I have a rule. My coach back for travel ball came up with a rule. It was, don't commit on the spot, come back home, let it sink in, and feel it out, and make sure you know that that's where you want to go. And I remember I had gone back because I wanted to make it in time for my first game for that summer league. So I came out, I was only here for a day, and I had to leave to make it back in time for the first game. And I remember calling him after that day, and I think I have it filmed too on video. And it was the call, and I was just like, I'm ready to be a Bear. And it was cute, and I was just over the moon excited. So.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, I got chills. That's so awesome. Okay, sign language. Talk a little bit more about, like, why you're so passionate about that.
Yes. I feel like the biggest thing is I took it from freshman year through senior in high school.
Okay.
And it was one of the classes I feel like I excelled in. I loved it, in just a language that I was so interested in, and even just learning about the history and all of it, I loved it. So my goal, I want to be a sign language interpreter for ESPN. So that is cool. What I'm studying. I'm minoring in it because I'm a little late to major in it with my credits from LSU and stuff, but I will be minoring it. So
that's so fun. That's a really cool job. I have a teammate right now that's in sign language, and I don't know, I think it's always so funny because I'm like, hey, like, what's up? She's like, I'm in class. And I'm like, oh, you're not? She's like, I know, I'm in sign language. I'm like, oh, okay. Sorry. Like, she's focusing, but that's so awesome. I think it's really good about your coach saying too, like, not to commit on the spot, because I think that's so true. Because, like, you get there, you get the visit, see all, like, the exciting things, like, talk to the people, but then you, like, are kind of, like, on that high, like, on that rush, and then you may make, like, an impulsive decision, and it can be tough. So, but I'm so glad you're here. Well, Baylor's so happy you're here.
Yes, I feel like a lot of times people fall in love with the glitz and the glamour of a school, and you know they're a top 5 power school right then and there, and it's like I wasn't going to be there for another couple years.
Yeah.
So to look at it like that, of I still have time. Is that going to be the same team? And it's a lot different being on the inside than it is on the outside. That I think I didn't understand, and that I wish I knew earlier.
Yeah, and I think, like you said earlier, like feeling valued, like, that is such a big thing, because being in a Power 5, like, top, like, sometimes, like, you're here to win games, you know, so sometimes it's really hard to feel like, oh, like, I'm still so loved on this team, you know, because, like, the coach's job is to win, you know, and so that's it's an awkward thing of, like, you know, they love you, they care about you, but, like, they have a job, too, and so that can be it's difficult. It's a big balance, but I don't know. I've always said this, but I feel like Baylor does a good job of that. And
yes, a really good job. I've always looked at it like a business too. Like, I understand from their standpoint, like, you know, they have children to feed, and they have, you know, bills to pay and all that. So I've always understood that. It's just that kind of both, like, an understanding of both sides and all that.
Yeah, for sure. It's tough, but it's fun. D1 athletics is so fun. It really is.
Exactly.
Okay, so you mentioned it earlier, but weight training is, like, a really big, obviously you're super passionate about it. It's a big part of athletics. We share a strength coach, Coach Mike. We call him Meatball. I don't know who gave him that nickname, but we call him Meatball. He's awesome. Can you talk about, like, what that's done for your sport? And you did it in high school as well. You can talk about that too.
Yes, I feel like weight training in particular is something that I've always loved. My parents have always instilled, we've always used to work out together. We all used to go to CrossFit together as a family. Fun. So I've always loved that. And my parents are very hard on me in the sense of making sure I'm putting in the work and all that. But I feel like I love working out. So it's never felt like something that I have to do. It's always something that I get to do. Like, I love working out. And it's one of my favorite because it's something that, like, I feel like an escape in a way of, like, instead of doing all these crazy things that, you know, all these other people, especially in high school, you see them doing, or your friends, and it's like, I don't want to be a part of that. Like, you know, I have training and workouts, and it's like, that's my escape. And so that's how I've always felt about that, which is why I think I love it so much, and it's a different type of passion for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think the craziness of life, like it's so easy to get like pulled so many different ways. And so to find something even outside of your sport that you're like super passionate about, it like can keep you so steady. And it's nice to have an escape. So like, do you have like a favorite like workout routine, like a certain lift that you're like, oh, I just love that one?
Not necessarily a favorite workout routine. I love anything to do with working out, just get moving. Training wise though, I love to go in and hit, especially at nighttime is kind of I don't know, it's just like a different type of stress relief, I guess I would say. But going in the cages at night is just, it's different, I guess.
That's so fun because we're in like the same parking lot as y'all. And sometimes I'll walk out of practice like at night and like hear like ding, ding. I'm like, oh, someone's getting to work. Like someone's getting better today. So that's always kind of fun. So are you studying sign language? You said you're minoring in it, correct? So
yes.
What's your plan?
So I'm majoring in communications right now and then minoring in sign language. Honestly, I just kind of chose that one. I really wanted to major in sign language, but it was just one of those things where have already so many credits that I might as well go for something else. So I'm just minoring in it, but it'll be okay in the end. Yeah.
And then the goal is to work for ESPN.
Yes.
That's so fun. That's so cool. I'm a comm major. I like comm. I feel like I always tell them, I'm like, comm is more fun. All right. We're not business. We can like super versatile. So
yep. We'll be able to communicate, I guess, at the end. So
something like that. We'll figure it out. And then I like thought about this earlier today. I went on a cruise with my family this December, and I remember running into you at the Hires building. And we were just like, oh, like, what are you doing for break? I'm about to leave. And I was like, oh, I'm going on a cruise. And, like, your eyes just lit up. You're like, oh, a cruise? Where are you going? You were asking all these questions. And so you're, like, obsessed with cruises, right?
Yes. I think I was more excited for you because I was like, I have to give you all the tips and tricks and, you know, all the stuff so that way you're ready to have the most fun and can use all the stuff that they have on the cruise. But my family is like our big vacation. Every couple years we'd go on a cruise, and it is just so much fun. Like the cousins and grandpas, and it was just something where we all get together. And so those like memories are my favorite memories ever. So it's always fun going on cruises. So whenever I hear someone else that's like, oh, I'm going on a cruise, I'm like, I will get them excited and tell them all the tricks and stuff so that they have the most fun on the trip.
That's awesome. Yeah, we had a great time. My family kind of went with my grandparents and like a big group of us. So it was a blast.
And the food is always my favorite. They always have pizza 24/7 and ice cream. So
they really do. Yeah, I remember Mike gave us our workout plan, and I was like, bro, you already know I'm gonna be eating so much. So I need to stick with it.
Typically, I do not do workouts on the cruise, and my mom will be going too with like the cute ocean view, and I'm like, I'll be at the pizza buffet or something.
Yeah, you will. That's awesome. Yeah. So you recently got baptized with your team. Such like a cool moment, super special. Do you want to speak about that moment of getting baptized and then a little bit more of like your faith and kind of how that's helped you through softball?
Yes. So I've been a Christian for a long time. My nanny Pat actually kind of introduced me to church when I was really, really young before she passed away. And so I've always like, we used to go, and so I knew about it. Like in my heart, it was just kind of, once she passed away, we never really went anymore and never really was in my mind at all. And then as I started to get older, I just was going through some dark times, especially when I got to LSU. Just hit some low points, and I remember there were times where I was just like so over it. Like I couldn't do it. Like it just felt like so much weight was on me. And I remember calling my mom, you know, crying. Like there were so many nights. I think I cried more than I was happy there. Yeah. And it was just to a point where I hit so many low points and just was so over it to where I remember one night in particular I was staying at the dorms at LSU, and I had just had an injury. I actually had a concussion my freshman year at LSU, which is why I had the injury, which kind of trickled to all the events leading up to this, but my turning point basically. And that was a really hard struggle for me, dealing with that injury, because they shut you down completely. Yeah. And I already have a learning disability in school, so it's always 10 times harder for me anyway, so I work really, really hard to get good grades because it is already harder for me anyways. And I remember that was like already the biggest struggle. And so when they shut me down for the concussion, they isolate me from the team. Can't really go anywhere. Just basically, they're like, sleep, keep the lights off, sleep. Yeah. We bring you food. And then once I started, a few weeks later, I could kind of go to the dining hall and get food and stuff, but still was kind of away from the team. And that process was so hard. It was just, felt so alone, and obviously you can't train, so it was just like I couldn't do anything, and then shut you down from school. And so right when they threw me back in a few weeks later, I was behind in life. I remember just being so like mad at myself because I was like, it was almost like I put all the stress on me and was just like, it's my fault. Like, yeah. And I was just drowning. I feel like I was drowning pretty much. And so I would call my mom crying every day. It was pretty much, I had to go to practice like normal anyways, and then school obviously in the morning, and then more school, homework afterwards, because I was pretty much failing a few of my classes, especially math, and I was struggling. And then I remember one night in particular, I had gone home, because I would be at the field till like 3 a.m. every day anyways, just training and trying to catch up as much as I could with everything. And I just hit a low point, and I remember calling mom crying. Like, I was just like, I don't even know what to do. Like, it's just, I can't do it anymore. Like, just being so, just felt like I was sinking. Like, I was just over it. And she was just like, it's okay, you're going to be fine. She was probably more stressed out for me and than I probably actually was. It was just, I didn't know what to do anymore. And I remember that was the first time I had prayed. And I remember just like, after I got off the phone with her, I was just stayed there and I just cried for like 10 more minutes. And I just prayed, and I was just like, I don't even know what to do anymore. Like, I can't do it anymore. And just if you could have your hand over me pretty much, because it was just so hard in that moment. Yeah. And I remember the next day I woke up, I went early to go hit again, and then we played Duke that day. And I remember I got a text from my coach in the morning, and it was like, hey, can you meet me in my office? Like, she doesn't normally like text like just like that. And I was like, yeah, of course. Like, I'll be there early anyways, like, And then I went and hit in the morning, and then I walked up to the office, and it was like the long office table, and all the coaches are sitting there, and
it's the worst feeling.
I like walk in and sit down. I'm like, hey, like, what's up and stuff, and they're like, we just wanted to give you the opportunity to let you know that if you want a red shirt, you have the opportunity to do it. And so I just cried. And I remember one of my Coach Dobson, he got up and grabbed like a box of tissues and like put it down, and I was just like, I wish you guys knew, like, I was just like drowning. Yeah. And so it was like all the weight came off my shoulders, and I was just like crazy, like a God moment. Like, I like felt him there. So it was a really, really weird experience. And from that moment, it was just like I could breathe again, and I was like, I can focus on school this year. So I wasn't as stressed about softball, and that it was, I could breathe and get my grades up, and I did, and I had decent grades that year. And from then on, it was a lot better. But I just remember some rough times, but that was like my turning point. And then from then on, I would still go to FCA, LSU, and all that. And when I came to Baylor, that was another thing, was my faith means a lot to me. And so when I found out I was at Christian University and all that, I was stoked. And
awesome. Just
because I knew I would grow in my faith, and that was huge for me. And so when I came here, Holly and John were my chapel leaders, so them. It was just, everything kind of fell into place exactly how it was supposed to, and in a weird way. And I've definitely grown in my faith since I've been here. And then I knew I wanted to get baptized a while ago. Pretty much over the summer, I had thought about it, but kind of was waiting it out because I wanted like my whole family to be there and stuff. Yeah. And then we had a retreat, and a bunch of people were getting baptized, and I was like, oh, I would love to, but I want my family to be there. Like, they are really important to me. And so I had waited it out, and when I like realized we were going back home for California to play for spring break, I was like, I want to get baptized at home. Yeah. And we were honestly, I think it was originally planned to be like at a pool at the hotel or something, and my family was going to be there, but it worked out to where we actually had dinner at my house, and the whole team came, and I just decided to do it right in the spa. So that awesome. Was a unique experience, and had both families there, and it was just a very awesome experience.
Wow. Thanks for sharing. I know like athletics can be so like, oh, glitz and glam, like, yay. But like, it truly, like, it's daily grind. Like, it can be really hard. But like for God's hand to like be in that process the entire time, it's just like, like you're a living testament of that. Like it can happen, and like you can do it all. He has a plan for us. It's so perfect. And to share that moment with, I love how you said both of your families, because like that's so cool. It truly, like, your team becomes your family, instead of being able to like combine those two worlds and like show everyone like that, hey, this is like what I'm committing to. Like this is my faith. Like I like want to be so committed to this. I think it's just so awesome.
Yes, I think that moment too, I remember the speech that I had given right before, because I was just kind of telling, it wasn't obviously, I just randomly decided to get baptized. It was, I've always been a perfectionist my whole life. Even now, I struggle with it really bad. And I'm my worst critic. Like, me versus me, but I'm the worst critic I think I could possibly be to myself. And so I've always been like, I'm not perfect enough to do it yet. Or like, I'm not good enough, or I'm not ready. It's like, it's always been like that moment, kind of in everything for my life. It's just like, I'm not ready for it, or I'm not perfect enough. And I remember like in that moment, I was just like, it's one of those things where God doesn't care. Like he's not worried about me showing up and being perfect or waiting for that right moment. Like that moment is the right moment as long as I can make it that moment. You know what I mean? Like, so that was kind of a struggle that I've always had my whole life, and just realizing, and in that moment I was just like, this is it. Like I don't need to wait until I'm, the perfect Christian, or till I'm doing everything right. Like that's just not how life is. So that was a big turning point for me.
So cool. And y'all's team retreat, I heard, was just like amazing. Do you want to speak a little bit on that?
Yes, our retreat was something that I expected a little bit, but turned out to be way more awesome than I think I could have thought it would have been. It was just a lot of devotionals, we had live, worship music, and it was just incredible. And my favorite part was how we would have break-off groups. So we would have discipleship, and we would talk about it as a group, and then break off in like sections of our team. And I feel like that was a huge way of us to bond. And like, we kind of got deep with some questions, and some uncomfortable questions, but at the same time, it was just like, we grew so much in that, just from being on that retreat, that I'm excited to do it every year.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like those moments are so crucial, especially like earlier talking about team chemistry and just like how like it can seriously make or break like your season. And so to start off on such a strong note of like, okay, like we're gonna break down all the walls, like I'm gonna know everything about you, you're gonna know everything about me, and like we're gonna like grind together, and like we're gonna be great teammates. And so I just remember like just kind of hear like, oh, softball had a great team retreat. I'm like, okay, ours is gonna be so great next year too. Like it's just, that's really encouraging.
Yes, I feel like it was nice too, because like obviously for like relationships, and there's a lot of new people, like building that foundation is really important, and to have that strong foundation to build upon was really important. So for us to have that start was just like, because we kind of already kicked it off pretty good, and then just to have that was like, our chemistry just was through the roof. So
that's awesome.
It was awesome.
Oh, so fun. So whenever I have somebody come in, I will kind of put up on the forums that like, hey, ask this person some questions if you want to. And so Scotty B, the Baylor King, asked, who's the toughest pitcher you have ever faced as a batter?
That's a fun question, because for me, I don't think of it, I've never thought of it like, oh, I'm going against the number one pitcher, like I'm so scared because she is this. It's okay, me versus her, like, I'm attacking this pitch, like, you know what I mean? It's not necessarily like, oh, this is the best pitcher ever, I'm coming in nervous. Like, no, it's like any other pitcher coming in. But I will say there are two who I think moments when I was younger that it was Megan Faramo for UCLA. Okay. And I know her, so she's awesome and love her. And it was just fun hitting against her. And then Montana Fouts when I was in nationals for my travel team. Okay. That was like a fun time to face her.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I think like such a fun part about like athletics is too is that like you start to get to like know everybody, and so like playing against girls like that are like so awesome, but you played against them when you were younger, or just like creating all those connections like across the country. I think it's just like it's so fun. You know?
It is a lot of fun. Or like the ones you played with and then you're playing against them, so it's like a whole different.
Yeah, like one of my best friends plays at Clemson. And so we're always like, oh, hey, like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? And I'm like, this is crazy. Like, look at us being D1 athletes. Like, I think it's so fun. So it's a cool moment. Okay, so for our last question, everyone that comes on gets to answer this. If you could write a letter to sports saying anything you wanted to, what would you say and why?
Dear sports, I wish that everyone knew that they are worth so much more than the numbers that they are given, or the numbers that through their performance. I wish that more athletes knew that their mental health matters and to not be so hard on themselves, because sports as a whole is something that we get to do, and it should be fun. And if you're not having fun, then I don't think sports is leading off in the right direction.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for coming on today. I know we covered like some heavy things, but thankful for you and that like you can speak your heart about it.
Yes, I'm glad I got to come. I was very excited. Yes. So thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed that episode just as much as I did. Make sure to stay updated on everything Deer Sports. Our link tree is in the Instagram bio. Subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Until next time, this is Faith Lynch with Deer Sports.